Hello, I'm Simon, and welcome back to the Bookster Podcast from inside the SaaS holiday rental software company, Bookster, based in Edinburgh, Scotland. Follow along as Bookster discuss their journey and their inner workings. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you find these conversations insightful and ultimately helpful. Now, today I'm joined, as always, by CEO and co-founder of Bookster, Mr. Robin Morris. Robin, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, Simon.
And we are lucky enough today to be joined again by support lead Adam Aaron. Adam, welcome back.
Hi there, Simon. Hi, Robin.
Hello.
How are you both this morning?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Not bad. I'm all right.
Not bad. Excellent.
Well,
in that case.
My holidays are over. I've been away on holiday and they're over.
That's
now.
right.
Just got
They're
the long, hot Scottish summer to deal with.
Well, yes. I have managed to cut the grasses in between showers this morning.
I think
In between showers.
The only thing you got in there that's 100% correct is it's Scottish.
Yeah.
How many showers do you have, Simon?
I like 3 or 4 a day. It's got to be, at least. Good job there's not smell-o-vision on this. It's just audio. Right. Moving on. Okay. Welcome back, everyone who's tuned in again to this podcast. Thank you for putting us on. Today, the plan is we're going to talk a little bit about remote working and how Bookster do that, the pros and cons, the ups and downs, and how it all works. So perhaps the first question should be, how long have you been remote working? Has it been a COVID thing, or have you done that before COVID? How's it working?
It's about 9 this morning. I am in my home.
I'm actually not remote working today, but as I'm on my own, it's probably I am remote working.
It's almost remote working, yeah.
Probably is. So I suppose, like many technology companies, we've had the ability to work remotely for a long time. So we started Tribal Logic Limited, which is our company name, in 2007, and certainly even at that point, we used something called IRC to do chats amongst the team, and we could do that remotely and work remotely and do all our work remotely, and we did for time to time. So we would either work from home or sometimes work from other locations. So we have had the ability to work remotely, at least since 2005, 2006, and we did it from time to time. However, COVID did quite dramatically change what we do on a daily basis, and it went from pretty much everyone came into the office every day before COVID. On the odd occasion they would work remotely, or if they happened to be traveling or something. But since COVID, it's been a complete reverse, really, and now most people work remotely most of the time, and only come into the office every so often.
Right. And so how often would people come into the office then? Do you have a set day a week that everyone comes and gets together, or?
No. I'm in most days, but it varies amongst team members. We do have a 6-weekly epic planning, which so our cadence of work is we've got a weekly sort of sprints that we do, and then so we plan for those once a week, and then we have 6 weekly planning. So we're planning essentially for 6 weeks. Now, on those 6 weekly planning, we do try to get into the office for that. So everyone usually comes in for that. But on other days, it's quite sporadic. People come in on some specific days. Other people are in most days. Some people are never in except for the 6 weekly planning. So
Right.
yeah, it's quite
Flexible.
varied. Yeah.
Flexible, yeah. And Adam, how do you find the flexibility in terms of your work-life balance? How does that all work?
I think on the positive, it's flexible is probably the best word for it. On the positive, it's extremely flexible. On the negative, the work-life balance, I suppose, it's quite hard to stop. So you're thinking about work because you don't have that sort of change between work and home. You tend to think about work when you shouldn't be, and think about home when you shouldn't be. So I suppose on the whole, though, I prefer having that flexibility. So I take the flexibility over the negatives for sure.
Sure. And how does it work then in terms of, I mean, in an office environment, if you get stuck on something, I guess you turn around and ask your colleague at the desk beside you. Does it slow down anything, not having that work environment?
It can do, but equally it can slow down if you're in the office constantly interrupting people. I do find it harder focusing in the office a lot of the time. So depending on the task at hand, also if you're on calls, you have to remember to book a meeting room, whereas if you're working from home, it's generally much easier to just find a quiet spot. But in terms of, I suppose sometimes there's a time delay. We use something called Slack. Robin mentioned IRC earlier, which Slack is sort of like similar to. It allows us to communicate pretty much in real time, no matter where we are. You can do video conferencing through that or through Google Meet, etc. So it's not too bad in terms of that. There's definitely a positive in terms of being in the same room as someone and having a conversation with them versus doing a video call. There's definitely conversations we're only able to have in the office, mainly about the people who aren't there that day. There's a certain amount of bouncing ideas back and forth that you just don't get working remotely, whereas you would get if you're working right next to someone that sometimes aren't even related to work but can benefit work. I can't think of an example just now, but I would say overall I prefer it, but I definitely need to be in the office sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, I think where Slack works, so it works really well if people respect it for what it is to some extent. It's quite difficult to. So, say in the past, pre-Slack, you might email someone and you just email a particular person, and then they'll get around to reading that email. Obviously, with Slack, what you can do is you can message everybody in the company. And I think that's the tricky thing, is that in the office, you can kind of gauge through a human interaction when someone is, it's a good time to talk to someone. And you typically don't stand at the end of the office and shout to everybody and go, hello, I've got this idea. Has anyone thought about it? You talk to one person. And I think that's the tricky thing about something like Slack, is that it's quite difficult to realize that when you put a message on there, you are actually telling everybody, you're asking everybody to read it. Now, it's not such a big interruption as a shouting in the office, but it's having a similar effect. It's a bit like emailing everyone in the company. And so, it's trying to encourage inside Slack more like filtered conversations inside teams or inside individuals, working out the what's appropriate or not. That's the difficult bit. So yeah. And then also the thing is, when people are in the office, if they're not in very often, the temptation is that you then try to get all that chatting in and like face-to-face conversations in the few hours that you're there. And so you then get this impression that oh, when you're in the office, there's not all this talking, but it's kind of, in a way, a function of, well, because people aren't in the office that much now, they want to have all this conversation, face-to-face conversation, while they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And it does then make the office more of a kind of distracted environment, I suppose. But, time is one thing that obviously helps with all this sort of stuff. You just get better at it over time. But, yeah.
Sure. But I mean, is there, I guess, for both of you, if you're working at home and you're, on Slack and you're sending emails, is there a sort of danger that you start sending emails 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, just because you're not having that work time focus? And so sort of as you suggested, Adam, perhaps your home life and work life sort of melts into each other.
Not so much at 8 o'clock. Maybe sort of, between 5 and dinner. There's that tendency. It's that transition time that you don't get it. So it's not, once you've actually stopped work, it's generally not a problem. It's just there's no natural transition, so you have to force it. You have to either quit your work apps, or just be a bit more disciplined about it, I suppose. I would say, I'm not sitting up at night, worrying about whether I've responded to someone. Whether they're sitting up at night worrying about whether I'm going to respond to them, I don't know. But no, I wouldn't say that's an issue.
Good. So you seem to got the balance right. And you're telling me earlier that you guys work on summer hours. Can you explain that a little bit as well?
Robin, do you want to?
Yeah, okay. So something sort of copied from the 37 Signals guys is essentially that 3 months of the year we work 4 days a week rather than 5. Especially because everyone is kind of generally based in Scotland, where the nights are longer and you don't get, the weather is much worse during the winter. It is very nice to be able to take advantage of the summer a bit more, take advantage of the good weather. And so therefore, it's something that we offer basically that our entire team works 4 days a week, June, July, August. So yeah, right. We've been doing that for quite a long time, maybe 7 or 8 years now. And yeah, it generally works. I don't think we have much of a drop in productivity. People like it. It's also, if we're hiring new people, it's something that is attractive to new hires as well. So yeah, it seems to work.
So just to clarify then, do you overlap these 4 days? You don't just, do you just close on a Friday, or do someone do Monday to Thursday and someone does Tuesday to Saturday, or how does it work?
Yeah, we sort of break it up to people at different days that they take off, Mondays or Fridays or Wednesdays or Thursdays. Yeah. So
there's always somebody there Monday to Friday. So
yes, yeah, we've always got cover through the week for answering support questions and things. But yes,
very good. So that sounds like, if you can't pay them, give them 4 days a week. Brilliant. A nice incentive.
To be clear, the pay is the same, so it's not a reduction in pay.
Yeah, we don't reduce the pay in the summer. But you're right that, we can't necessarily afford wages like big banks or something like that. So it is another way of differentiating yourself. So there's that.
No, it sounds.
You mentioned productivity not going down. If anything, I would say productivity actually goes up, because you're so conscious that your week is shorter. You are actually more productive and use the time more wisely. Not to say that I'm wasting time, Robin, when I'm on 5 days a week, but you definitely, you do tend to cram more in and actually get more done, if anything. So I'd say the productivity, if anything, is affected in a positive way.
Right. And have you had any feedback from? I'm just intrigued because I come from an environment where it's 7 days a week almost that we're open in tourist industry. So do you have any feedback from a client? I mean, if they can't get hold of you, Adam, because you're only working 4 days a week, does that impact them at all?
I mean, generally, I encourage clients to not email me directly anyway, and that's nothing to do with summer hours. It's more to do with, if they're emailing me directly, it's not going into our support queue, and our support queue isn't just looked at by me; it's looked at by the whole team. So, in general, if they're emailing to the support queue, someone will get it because of the overlap. If they are emailing me directly, I should probably be a bit more disciplined about having my out of office reply on, but I should probably do that anyway.
Right, but the overlap obviously picks up any
in
emails
theory,
could
yeah.
potentially fall through the cracks.
We've not had any negative feedback from clients that I recall anyway.
Good.
No,
well, obviously works for you guys.
If
you're doing it for 7 years.
Yeah, I think it generally works. Clients don't really, I don't think they really particularly notice, to be honest.
I think also the time of year, Robin, is probably, they're busier running their businesses rather than like support generally isn't massively busy compared to other times of the year. Like there's not a huge increase in the summer. It's actually, if anything, I'd say slightly less support. From our point of view for supporting clients, it's not. I've not had any feedback besides, oh, that's really lucky. I wish I had that. I've not had any negative feedback from clients though.
And is there a reason it's only summer hours if the model works? Is there an argument to just do 4 days a week all year long?
Yeah, I mean, there is an argument. I think the motivation to do it was to, as Adam says it, our support burden does go down a little bit over the summer, but also it was to take advantage of the summer. So, yeah, I don't know. We haven't thought about making it all year round. It might be slightly more difficult to cover the peak sort of supporty stuff if we went down 4 days a week. But yeah, just haven't thought about it really like that. But yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, I mean,
other.
Sorry, on you.
No, on you go.
I was just going to say, going back to remote working, I think the biggest difficulty I found anyway is it's more around creative stuff. So when you're trying to, whether this is creating interfaces or trying to come up with ideas of how to improve things. So if you're trying to improve support stuff, say, so information flows or user journey flows or how people are interacting with us, doing the creative stuff is more difficult remotely than in person. So when you're trying to bounce ideas off quickly, it's actually quite difficult to do that. And sitting down in a video call is not as easy. For some reason, it's more tiring than doing it face to face. And obviously, there's a more formality to it. You have to say, "Oh, let's just quickly do this on a whiteboard." So I think I would say, of all the things of being more remote, I would say probably our creativity is the thing that is the most difficult thing to replace and suffers the most from being more remote. It's kind of, once your job is defined and you just want to get your head down and do something, so you're just coding something, or you're responding to support tickets, or you're running through, phoning people up or trying to reach out to clients or something. When you've got quite a defined job, being remote is really helpful. But when it's like, oh, let's think about how we improve this process or improve the software, or just more ethereal creative tasks, that's where it actually is really difficult, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you and I meet for coffee sometimes, and often that's what we use that time for, is using it for those creative conversations. And I think there is definitely something to be said for meeting in person. I don't think it should be, ever fully remote. I mean, the idea of meeting every 6 weeks for the epic planning, I think, can mitigate that somewhat, but to have those spontaneous conversations that just you wouldn't have otherwise, I do think working remotely does affect that in a negative way. I still think overall, though, it's nice to have the flexibility, to have those opportunities. As long as you create space to have those opportunities still, I think it's doable, and I think we do strike that balance all right. Does it negatively affect those spontaneous conversations? Yeah, as a whole, I suppose it does.
Yeah, I think that's just what you said there about creating the space to have them is actually the most difficult thing, because it's kind of easy to some extent having like the 6 weekly planning or whatever. We're all there, that's fine, but it's trying to create the space on maybe a regular basis where you can sort of just have a bit of that time where it's, there's no pressure to have a conversation, but if it happens, it happens. Something might come out of it. That's the thing. So yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't think I would, never. I don't think we're going to ever go back to being 5 days in the office, or 4 days or 3 days or whatever. Like, that's not going to happen. I would say if we were going to change anything,
I have to say, yeah, if you force it the other way around, it's just as bad.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we might do is say, right, well, actually, you have to be in like a certain amount of time, and I don't know what that would be. 1 day a week or 1 day every 2 weeks or something. I don't know, but it might be that is, and I know other companies do that. And it's like, I can understand why they're doing that, even though a lot of the time it's like, oh, it's pointless. Why are we going in? Well, it's stupid. But it's like, well, it's not. It's because you're going in for no reason. That's the reason. In a way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question that comes from all this remote working is, and you probably have answered it, to be fair, but it's why continue with the expense of an office, I guess, and why not just hire a meeting room every Wednesday morning and all get together for a couple of hours in a meeting room somewhere? What is the thinking behind keeping an office going when, you are all remote and don't often come into work?
Adam, do you want to answer that, or you need to?
I'm not the one paying for the office, Robin. That's you.
I don't pay for it either.
Just don't tell anyone. But yeah, no, it's just an observation, I guess. That's all.
So, for some people, it's, well, for me, for example, I don't have an office at home, and there's actually nowhere really I could put an office at home. So therefore, I would end up sitting at the kitchen table. So for me personally, I actually need somewhere to work. You're right, I could potentially hire a meeting room or something, and it'd be more like what's the name of that company? Is it WeWork?
Yeah.
You could do something like that where you've got desk space and you just kind of do it on that sort of basis, more ad hoc. But it does, one thing it does is it, well, maybe two things. It's, if somebody is looking, they're in my situation and they're looking for a job that they don't want to be in their house because they're maybe got flatmates or don't have an office space and they want to go somewhere, by having an office, you're making your more appealing to those people. So for hiring, it's good for that. And then the second thing is that if you are hiring someone, especially maybe if they're more junior, it is really difficult to establish any sort of culture remotely. It just is like it. And I think if you start working for a company and it's totally remote, it's very difficult to communicate that culture to someone remotely. It's a lot easier if they at least start in an office with a couple of people that are in the company already. First of all, they can help them out a lot with what they're doing, but you can also communicate what's expected of them, how you communicate with each other, how you behave with clients, etc. All the sort of little cultural things. Now it's easy once you've been at the company for a long time. It's kind of easy to be remote and just take all that stuff for granted. But establishing that with a new junior hire, I think it's much better if you've got somewhere that you can sort of get them in, get a few people in for a few months, and do that. So yeah, couple of reasons.
It's easier. I guess it's easier for them to get you all coffee as well if you're in the same building rather than go around the houses. But also an office like yours. I mean, I'm looking at your screen there, Robin. You've got the castle in the background, so I guess that is not a bad view for an office either. Right. Look, I think looking at time, we've sort of run over the 25 minutes, so I think at that point we'll wrap it up, if that's all right, unless you have anything else you want to say. We've got another shower to have, exactly. Look, thank you both for your time. Another interesting conversation there. Thank you for listening as well. A quick reminder that we have our sister podcast, which is Smashing Your Holiday Rental Goals. That is out there in the world as well, so you can have a look for that and review it. It's an interesting listen as well, so please do take the time to find that one. If you have any questions for us or them, you can email to podcast@booksterhq.com, and we'll answer any questions that we get through the emails on another program. But again, look, thank you both for your time. Adam, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Nice to speak to you again. Robin, let you get back to your view and your office work, so thank you again. And we'll do this all again very soon. Until then, goodbye and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.